We're going to watch Dana White's recent interview after UFC Fight Night St. Louis today and break it down because he said some major things that we need to discuss. He has, for the first time in a few years, announced that the UFC is actively working on getting out of the Apex for good. This is amazing news because it will put back on the pressure on the UFC that has been lifted off of them by being in the Apex of actually making sure they can have an event that has enough quality on the card to actually sell out an arena. The pressure of selling out an arena and not having empty seats is something that will drive the UFC to greater cards, in my opinion, that they've since not really cared about with the Apex because they're just basically putting on any old rubbish. You know what I'm saying? To avoid swearing in the first minute of my video. Also in this video, he doubled down on Jones Stipe next, maybe in November. So that'll be nearly 2 years of inactivity whilst Jones has been champ. He got the belt in January of 2023. The New York card pay-per-view that they talked about here is in November of 2024. Insane that they're letting Stipe fight for the belt after this much time. And then some weirdness happened at the end with a certain female reporter just basically showing you that they aren't doing much of a vetting process to who gets to these media days. That's all I'm going to say. Let's have a listen to Dana White talking about the Apex, though.
Obviously, look, the Apex is very convenient for the people who live in Vegas, but when you get a guy and have him perform like that in front of his home crowd, this is where someone like him can make himself a bigger star, right? Taking advantage of a position like this.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're watching on ESPN, I mean, everybody, I'm sure you guys were getting texts too. It's like, they're like, Jesus Christ, it's like a pay-per-view there right now. 100%. And
I'm glad that he felt that because it did have that buzz. It did have that roar. And that's just so missing in the Apex. Listen, the Apex has its place. And I don't want them to permanently move away from the Apex. But man, it actually felt like an event of importance when there's a crowd in attendance. It's almost like when there's a crowd, you yourself feel like you need to also be a crowd member, right? It's like the event's about to start. I don't know, it's a weird vibe. Like when you're in the Apex, it's like, forget it. You know what I mean? You can literally just walk away for an entire fight and then come back. But for some reason, when there's a crowd there, you want to be there as well with the crowd. Very strange. No, there's a mini crowd in the Apex, but it's just not the same. Let's keep going with Dana.
this is sort of when you think about how we built this business, it was taking it out of, the big markets. Like when we first got into the fight business, everybody just went to Vegas, Atlantic City, sometimes New York, sometimes LA.
And that is what the UFC has become over the past year. Like, don't get me wrong, they'll have a random event here and there, like, oh, we're in Manchester, in July, or oh, we're in Paris for the first time. I mean, they do have these big events elsewhere, but for the most part, over the past year or two, it's literally been Vegas, New York, Florida maybe now and again, and maybe Texas. Like, we're not getting anywhere else. Obviously, the obligatory Brazil card, even though the fans don't fucking deserve it. Keep it going, Dana. This is music to my ears.
That's the only place that really had fights, unless you had a local kid that would fight in some, we built this business taking this thing to every city all over the world. And, as we start to get our shit together, I will call it, and start to move out and start to, go to these different cities like we used to, the whole sport just goes to another level.
Do you think? I like that he mentioned a local kid. When we've got a local kid, we would go to other events because that's more of a thing now. Like back in the day, there weren't fighters from everywhere. There just wasn't. It was the US, some Brazilians, there wasn't very many fighters from elsewhere. There was some, of course, but it wasn't enough of a fan base or a force within the sport to move an event to a location for those fighters and for those fans. Now the sport's completely different. I think something the UFC has missed, like, yes or no, if Ilya Topuria and Merab Dvalishvili and Giga Chikadze were coming up in 2016, we would have had a UFC Fight Night Georgia, okay? And I use that in slang term. We would have had it, you know what I'm saying? We would have had UFC Fight Night Georgia. I don't even know the main event of Georgia. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, this is what happens when you're an MMA fan. I don't even know the capital city of Georgia. I can't even think of it right now. But we would have had a fight night there by now. Maybe because of the current world, Putin's acting up. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. based on the whole, Krylov versus Pavlovich situation that we've got going on, maybe that's why they're not going to Georgia. But I feel like they would have done it a year or two ago. You know what I mean? Like, that would, but now we don't do that anymore. And I think it was big for Buckley because he was a local guy from St. Louis. He wanted to be on the card for that reason. He wanted to fight in front of his home crowd. They knew that he was their fighter. They were cheering for him, roaring for him at the end of his fight as well. That's how you build stars. Not everyone can build stars out of the Apex or become a star out of the Apex. Some of these guys need their hometown behind them. And if their hometown ain't getting no UFC events, they're less interested in the UFC. They have no idea who their local fighters are because, as much as we hear it on the walkout of a Contender Series fight, this guy's from St. Louis, this guy's from Clarksville, Tennessee, shout out Nate the Train. We don't know, no one knows that. The casual fan's not listening to like, where's he? I wonder where this guy's from. No. When you see a guy getting absolutely applauded by his home country or home crowd, home city, hometown, the casual fan at home goes, oh, that's our guy. You know what I mean? If he's from here and the crowd's cheering him like this must be our guy right now. And then he gets on the mic and he goes, St. Louis, stand up, and he wants them all to cheer for him. That's how you get people on board if you're from where they're from. We haven't been doing that recently. Keep it going, Dana.
I think there'll be a time where the Apex shows are like maybe once a month, if that, or you'll use it more sparingly, or are you happy to have that?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I've been saying this for a long time. We got to get out of the Apex and start doing more events.
Yes! This is what I want to hear, Dana. This is the high testosterone, good night of sleep, Dana, that we want to hear.
In all these different cities, and we're starting to do it. We're getting it done this year.
Yeah, you talk about going to different.
I'm glad that we're getting out of the Apex. I hope you can see this on screen right now. You probably can. You can see the end of it, like the name of the event. We have some... why is there constant ads popping up there? We have some events. KFC Yum Center. Never heard of it. All right, you just want to be an advert there forever, do you? That's funny. All good. I'll turn it away again. KFC Yum Center, Louisville, Kentucky. This is good progress. We're back in the Apex. I'm getting a phone call. Fuck off. Fuck! Anyway, back to it. As you can see on the screen, we have Tapology and we have all of the UFC events right here. We've got Barboza versus Murphy in the Apex. We've got this Louisville, Kentucky card. We've got Newark, New Jersey with the pay-per-views. The pay-per-views aren't going to be in the Apex. We know that. We're in Saudi Arabia. We've got an Apex fight night here. Now, I personally do not mind the idea of having an Apex fight now and again. As we just heard Dana White say, he's not going to permanently leave. And, even Oscar suggested, maybe once a month they go to the Apex, or now and again they go to the Apex. I have no problem with occasionally being in the Apex. Now and again, it's better than just no week of fights. You know what I mean? If we're going to wait 2 weeks for a fight, I'd rather have an Apex card in the meantime to keep us busy. My problem is that this Apex fight card is on June 15th, and it doesn't have a main event yet. So, as far as, leaving the Apex and doing less events in the Apex, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I think that's a great idea. We also have to fix the problem, though, of actually caring about the cards that are in the Apex and not having the best quality fight on the entire card be Alex Perez versus Tagir Ulanbekov with 4 weeks to go before the fight actually starts. That's a disgrace. But, we're in Saudi. We're at UFC 303 with McGregor and Chandler. I don't know where this is. It's undisclosed, so maybe we'll have that at some kind of event. This is in the Apex as well. So we're seeing, look, June 15th in the Apex, the next confirmed Apex card, which I think they would have confirmed for this fight card if it was going to be in the Apex, seeing as they confirmed this one. But this one's in the Apex as well. That's July 20th. And then we see August 10th, we're in the Apex again. August 17th, we're not. I feel like this is a good trend. Once a month in the Apex, 2 crowded fight night cards. Not every month. Some months you don't have to do 2 crowded fight night cards. There's always going to be that week without a fight now and again. So maybe you could do 1 month comes around, 1 Apex card, 2 fight nights with crowded arenas, and then a pay-per-view. And in the next month, you do 1 Apex, 1 crowded event, and a pay-per-view. We'll see how that goes. That's the plan I'd hope they'd be going for. But we get back to Dana White's interview because he then goes on to speak about John Jones and the whole fight with him and Stipe and just gives a sort of standard statement about it that I just hate. I hate it. I hate it. Let it play.
Jones is making headlines recently by saying, maybe he's interested in Stipe, then Alex Pereira. In your mind, is the move still?
It's not the only reason he was making headlines recently. You know what I'm saying? The boys. We exposed him, boys. Don't worry, Oscar. Must have slipped your mind. All good.
Do the Stipe fight, and then if he wants to fight again, it's Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, it's Stipe. I think John's just asking, who do you like? What do you think?
This is insane to me that we're even having this discussion. I can go on about all of the crimes that he's committed over and over again. No one cares. There's a reason why no one cares. We're not going to get it. We're just steering away from all that type of discussion on the channel. There's a reason why no one cares. Certain people aren't expected to behave the same way as others. It's simple as that. They don't get reprimanded for bad behavior as others do. All good. Even though Jon Jones grew up in a rich suburban household. All good, though. He's had it rough. Either way. I can't believe we're in a situation where we're like, yeah, just, I think Jon's just, seeing what's about, Stipe next. Hasn't fought in, 4 years? I think the last time Stipe fought, Pereira wasn't even in the UFC. He's since moved up the middleweight division, won the middleweight belt, defended it, lost it on the defense, moved up to light heavyweight, beat Jan Blachowicz, then took the belt, then defended it. I feel like that's all since the last time Stipe Miocic has fought. Maybe it was around the time of Stipe's last fight, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that stat somewhere. Stipe's done fucking nothing. He has done nothing for years. And not to mention, this needs to be mentioned as well. Stipe had his immediate rematch for a title. So the only excuse for this is to give Jones an easy fight. No idea why they want to. I have every idea. They rigged the Garn fight. They're doing this with Stipe. They're giving Jones easy fights at heavyweight so he can hopefully beat them easier than Ngannou did. So they can say, well, he would have beaten Ngannou as well. Look what he did to Garn. Ngannou went 5 rounds with him. Look what he did to Stipe. Ngannou took 2 rounds with him and lost the first fight. Not Jones. He beat him in a round. Of course, it's fucking fat, old, crusty Stipe. I hate this. You've got an interim champion, Tom Aspinall, and we're just like, yeah, Stipe next. This is absolutely delusional. This is honestly the equivalent, and I'm not even joking, arguably the equivalent of, like, O'Malley being like, fuck Merab, I'll fight Dominic Cruz. That's what this is the equivalent of right now. And I also want to mention, Stipe had his immediate rematch for the belt. He lost to DC. He got an immediate rematch. He then won the trilogy. Then he lost again. You don't just get another rematch after 4 years off. Unless you want an easy fight for Jon Jones after rigging the Garn fight. All good.
Kind of just feeling it out and seeing what people think. But he knows he's fighting Stipe.
Stipe said that might be in New York. Is that about right?
Sounds right.
The New York card is scheduled around November. Maybe October. I think it's in November, though. So we're going to be waiting. This is the thing about the Stipe Jon fight. I was all right with it at the start, because it was in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And it was like, okay, it'll be over and done with by whenever it was scheduled for, May, June, whatever it was. And it's like, okay, we can move on after this. You know what I mean? And then we can have the Aspinall fight. And it would have been probably booked by now or in conversation to be booked if Jones would have beaten Stipe by now. We're waiting another 6 months. Is Aspinall going to have to defend his interim title again? Is that really what's going to happen here? Is Aspinall going to have to defend his interim title twice? Because Jones is shit scared of him, the little pussy bitch? I'm sick of it. Sick of the niceness from Dana here. If Ngannou never left the UFC, he would not be treating Jon Jones this way. We know how he feels about Jon Jones. The leaked texts, the worst word ever to say, texts came out. They came out and he was calling Jones a fool, an idiot, whatever he was saying about him. Both of them yapping about Jones, disrespecting him basically because he deserves it for messing up events for them. So we know how they really feel. The only reason to give Jones this preferential treatment is to have him outshine Ngannou at heavyweight before he goes. It's the only fucking reason. And I'm sick of it. Because he's, honestly, can a GOAT have a career end this way? Really? Can a GOAT of a sport be considered a GOAT if he's ending it in the most pussy way possible? More pussy-like than anyone else before? This might be the most bitch-ass ending of a career we've ever seen. And he's the GOAT? I don't think so. Crazy. We move on. 7:55. This is some weirdness. This is just to talk about the media members. Who the fuck are you guys letting into these media days? We got a short window with Dana White here. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be a Karen and say, don't ever bring up stuff like this. But like, who are we letting into these media days? Like, they aren't journalists. They just aren't journalists. They aren't journalists. They don't care about the sport, really. You've got your golden opportunity to speak to Dana White, and this is what you got.
He's certainly a rank bull, and I've got one little challenge for Cowboy myself. If you notice this BMF brand on the top of my hat,
Yeah.
got that custom branding iron, and I said if he did his ride, I was going to let him brand me, but now I just want to let him do it. So, what do you think about that?
Did you say brand you?
Yes, sir.
Like cattle. Like a donkey. Like OSP. I think he's actually been branded with like an Omega sign, by the way. I'm not even joking. What are we doing here? Even Dana's like, what the fuck is going on? What am I? What? Who is this sexual deviant edging in the front row while they ask me this question right now? That's what Dana White is thinking. Why is there a puddle leaking out from row 2 over there? Like, I understand what's going on here. You know? Get out the wet floor signs. This woman is edging in the audience while asking Dana if he'll let Donald Cerrone brand her like a pig. What is going on?
Brand you.
Yes, sir.
You and Cowboy were made for each other.
Can we make it happen?
You're nuts. Can I make it happen?
Yes,
There's
sir.
no way in hell I would make that happen. You're crazy. Brand you where?
Back of the shoulder.
This is well thought out. Immediate response there. Not, no. Back of the shoulder. Knows exactly where she wants it. I don't know why back of the shoulder. Who knows? Maybe it's less sensitive there. Who knows? This is just like we've got a short window with Dana, and we've got this absolute sex pest in the front row, playing with her branding tracer, whatever she's got molded out, her branding mold, and edging in the front row, strumming away. What are we doing here?
The back of your shoulder.
Yes, sir.
Why?
Clout for fun.
Clout for
I'm
fun?
the BMF. I'll be the girl BMF.
Yeah, I can't make that happen. You look like a really sweet lady. The last thing you need to do is get branded. Have you ever been branded before?
No.
No?
I've done it to someone.
You should probably. You do? You have? Oh, you're into some shit, huh? I got it.
Who the fuck have we let in here? Look at Dana's face here, like, somebody get me that girl's at. Dana's gonna be lingering around after this interview here. You're into some shit, huh? This is the happiest I've seen Dana ever. This screenshot of Dana White might be the happiest look I've ever seen on his face. This deviant has been swayed by the succubus in the media day crowd. Okay? That's what's happened here. So who knows the ending of that story? I just thought I'd chuck it in at the end because it's like, this is like, anyone can walk into these media days and just start rattling off questions to Dana. Anyone. And it's just like, wow, there you go. I find it funny that she said clout, fame, fuck it, I'm the BMF. I like that we're bringing back like historical forms of extreme torture and punishment. And nowadays we've got the new generation saying, you know, clout, I'll do it. It's a weird world we're in, but that's the video covered up. I also want to do another video tomorrow. I've got another video tomorrow coming, and I've got to do full card predictions. For fuck's sake, I hate them. See you later. Goodbye. Toodle pip.